How's it going, guys? Welcome to the audio addiction episode. We're talking with the sleeping tonight. I feel like I'm in the presence of, post hardcore like royalty here. So you can say his name, what he does, all that jazz.
Dude, thank you. I'm Douglas, and I am the singer for The Sleeping. Dude, that's so nice of you. Thank you so much. I
Oh,
appreciate that.
no problem, Doug. Well, I have to preface this interview a little bit. So, when I was a wee young boy, now I'm 30, so that should date me very well. But I remember finding out about your band not through normal means. So, I'm a huge video game fan. And when I was first playing video games, I played Guitar Hero, and your song on Guitar Hero 3, Don't Hold Back, was on there. And I was like, what is this band? This band is so cool. How do I not know about them? And then I kind of went down the rabbit hole. And to me, that was like the start of me finding out about your band. And I've kind of followed you through your other projects and then obviously making it back to sleeping and stuff. So I wanted to kind of preface the interview with like, in my childhood memories, I was like, I didn't think, 13-year-old me probably would have never thought to interview the sleeping. So I feel like I have to
Hell yeah.
put the positive reinforcement out there that, sometimes things do happen in that way. So it's cool. So I wanted to ask how you guys got onto that game because that was such a great soundtrack.
Yeah, totally. No, that soundtrack is awesome. And, it's honestly to this day, it's still really cool to hear people, that were introduced to our band through Guitar Hero and the many other video games we were in as well. Like, it's pretty awesome, like we have this long lasting thing and, legacy, whatever you want to call
Sure.
it, to whatever extent. It's just really cool to hear people say such nice things about, you know, like formats we're cemented in, like these forms of placement that will always stay with us. It's really cool. So actually, funny story. It's a very short and simple story, but
Sure.
it's just funny the way everything's full circle. But actually, the manager of our band now, her name is Monica. She used to work at Victory many, many years ago.
Wow.
And basically, she was the person who made the connection and got us on Guitar Hero. So funny enough, the person who got us on Guitar Hero many, many, many years ago is our manager now. So, but yeah, long story short, I mean, pretty simple. She, reached out to, I believe, Activision and was just basically like, here we go. I got this awesome band, and there you go. It was pretty cool. A lot of the placement we got pretty much worked like that. So,
Where they just
very,
asked.
very just Monica just being like, hey, this band's sick and whatever the case, so we've been in some really cool video games that I'm like super hyped on. Obviously, that being one of them, being one of the bigger ones. But there was also like Tony Hawk, and there's like
Nice.
a bunch of not like the one it's like a downhill jam or something like that. I honestly don't remember everything we're on, which and I don't say that in any like gloating way. I'm just like I feel very fortunate to be in these things that I've played video games. I'm a gamer or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Okay.
I literally like I'm like running Diablo right now and just going crazy. So it means a lot to me just because I've always loved video games. So
That's
but yeah, very, very simple story, but cool.
Well, I'm glad it happened because I feel like a lot of people found out about your band through those means. So
Yeah.
it's cool that they have always, I feel like video games, especially within like the Tony Hawk scene of, things like Guitar Hero, I kind of put them all in that like alt sort of category of gaming where I feel like they've always really supported those artists. So really cool to hear that
Yeah.
it just worked out that way. I did have a question for your days in Victory. Did you have kind of any like things you would have done differently during your time on that label? Because I often find that I really haven't had a lot of bands from that era of time. So, do you feel like you would have gone about things differently?
I mean, it's definitely it's a loaded question, right? Because
Sure, yeah.
all the things you hear about Victory are true. You know what I mean? They are true. It's unfortunate,
Sure.
and every band's been a victim to the stories you hear on some capacity. But they were the first label that believed in us outside of our initial indie label, One Day Savior. Chris from Sky Came Falling started that label, and obviously the Sleeping Beauty members of Sky Came Falling, Chris, when he left the band, and they all stayed close, he started a label and started put our first record out, which really helped us. But Victory was like the first label outside of One Day Savior that like took a chance on us, and they, we wouldn't be we wouldn't, I don't think, at least this avenue
Mm.
that we went down, we wouldn't have been without Victory. You know what I mean? And I don't
Sure.
say that in like a thank you so much, Victory. Like, they fucked over everyone. But, we signed because no one else was really interested in that moment. And then we wound up doing insanely well, you
Yeah,
know,
I agree.
when we signed to them, and, all these like placement ads we were getting on Fuse, and, all these really cool TV spots. And I remember I remember South by Southwest the first year we signed,
Hmm.
and I'm getting like picked up in a truck, a Victory truck, and like my face is on the trunk, the hood of the truck, like wrapped. And I just remember being like, okay, there's something crazy about this, that I'm still a young dipshit, not really understanding and
Sure.
processing the way I would now as an adult. But I just remember that moment, like the truck picking me up and just like seeing it stop in front. And I was like, all right, I think this is like actually like a thing here. You know what I mean? So um, there were really great moments about Victory, a lot of great people. One being our manager now, there were
Hmm.
people that sort of didn't fit into the Victory mold, even though they were a part of the family. And, our manager being one of those people, you meet good people no matter what,
Sure. Yeah.
and I definitely would do things differently in the sense that I'm just older and I'm
Sure. Wiser.
wiser, if
Yeah.
you will. Like so much of us living back then was in the moment. We weren't really self aware. It was more just like, fuck yeah, like we're doing this. We're our
Sure.
own
Yeah.
bosses. We're like, sailing the seas of pavement. You know what I mean? Like, it was like a beautiful thing. But of course, now I would definitely not take for granted the business side of it. I don't ever want to be in a band to be a business. And
Sure.
I
Yeah.
think that as a kid, as a punk rock kid who was like anti-establishment and you know identity, the self identity of just being like, I don't give a fuck. I never necessarily took things for granted willingly. It was
Hmm.
just more like growing up. And now as an adult, I would definitely like to, and I'm fortunate I'm getting to do that with the sleeping now, but
Sure.
like,
Yeah.
kind of approach it more of this business side, and being an adult and being experienced in the things I'm experienced in. And it's kind of fun, honestly. And I think that's something I would personally do different. I wish I knew, I wish like I
Yeah.
wish I knew then what I know now. You know what I
Sure. Sure.
mean?
Sure.
So I think that would be my only thing. But it's not even really regretting. It's just like, now I'm just like, yeah, there would be things I would do differently, but not in like some regretful way, just smarter in some avenues, or at
Sure.
least
Yeah.
more present and self-aware in those avenues. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I also find that it's kind of like a hindsight's 2020, right? Like I can say I've made some very poor, mistakes doing YouTube, right? But now I feel like now that I'm older and arguably hopefully wiser as well, there are some things that I'm like, okay, I've made some good decisions and I kind of just try to remember that I have made some good decisions and I've made some bad ones, but it's how you learn about it, and I'm glad that that's the mentality that you guys are going with now.
Yeah, totally. You just live. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? You live, you make mistakes, decisions, business, personal life. It's just life, and I, you know, I, I've never been more grateful and thankful, like looking at my beautiful place with my lovely wife and
Yeah.
my dog and my cat, and just like hanging out on the couch sometimes. And I'm just like, man, I've done, so much in my life, and so many moments of being unsure, and so many moments of, is this what I want? And all of a sudden, I'm in this like beautiful present, and
Sure.
it's really cool, and it makes you realize like you need the things you need to shape who you become. You know, if you have the will to be the best optimal self you can be and make the best decisions on business standpoints, on personal standpoints, I mean, that's a win right there. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I think it's also learning from sometimes bad decisions, right? I think that obviously you can look at victory in a more objective way because you've experienced it now, you know?
totally.
And I also think it probably aids you in making better decisions with the sleeping going further. So it's cool to see you guys are back. Like genuinely, like I said, when Alexa emailed me about doing this, I was like, it's a must. Like I feel like for me, it would be a kind of a full circle moment. So again, appreciate the
Yeah, that's
time,
cool.
Doug.
Yeah, we appreciate it too. I appreciate it. I mean, like I said, it's like we don't really do a ton of press. We kind of, we'll definitely like take what we, what we feel is something that's cool to us. And, again, I've mentioned you before we started the podcast. It's like we were from such a different world where like we didn't really chase what you should have chased.
Sure. Yeah.
And sometimes I pride myself on just being like, this is what matters to me, like having a conversation with someone like you and like genuinely talking to you, looking through the screen
Sure.
going like,
Yeah.
this guy seems so sweet, you know what I
Oh,
mean, like such a nice dude. And that to me sometimes is better than like some major podcasts where like, you know, people are also the personality and not just like feeling like you're just having like a beautiful, transparent moment or whatever, and I can just sensing through our conversation before, I'm like, this guy's so nice. And that
oh,
makes me like excited to do these things because I think the things we did do back in the day, we definitely did them with more of a like, this sort of like, oh, we're a band, let's like
yeah.
be a band. And like, I'm 40 years old. I don't want to like, I don't care anymore. I just want to
Sure.
like be myself. I want to be myself and talk about music and not just, I was always wanting to be myself, but when you're on this plane at a young age, you like own it. You know what I mean? And like, I realize now that there's many things I love in my life and I don't have to just hide behind this. Like I own this singer, like, I'm me and I enjoy good conversation and, music is a very important part of my life, whether or not it's in a spotlight or not. And
Sure.
like,
Yeah.
that's what I'm more excited to talk about, which is just like music and good conversation about such things, band related, like just sonically, whatever the case is.
Yeah, no, I find that a lot of the conversations I like to have here on the channel are like the honest ones. Like I
Yeah.
delve into it. It's just like I explain it to most people is that it's like just two friends. Like if Doug and I were in the same room and we're sitting on a couch and we're just chatting and there just happen to be like people recording it or, that's the
Yeah.
type of conversation that I want to have with people because, obviously, like, I keep saying that you're such a legendary act, but I also could tell too that like you just genuinely want to have the conversation of just talking, right? And I think that the time that I was like more of a fan, I was like, "Oh my god, these people are so cool. I'll never be as cool as them." And then I realized that it's just like they're human. They're just like
Yeah,
us,
totally.
and like I can have
Totally.
a conversation and I feel like if anything, they might enjoy the conversation more if you're not treating them as if they're like this like god, right? Like I think
Yeah,
that's kind of the
totally.
thing. So,
Also, I think when you get older too, you realize a lot of things about yourself and about others, and I it's like hard for me sometimes between these like screen
sure.
conversations because I like sense myself kind of leading towards a way where I'm like, this doesn't feel like me. And like I've actually been trying to like more and more just not even think about it and think about it in like this conversational way because I'll always be who I am in front of any camera.
Sure.
I will always be me. But you know, when you're in front of a camera, you're in front of a camera. It's just naturally what happens. You just kind of turn into this other, not turn in, but you start kind of like, oh, okay. But like I don't really care to be like that, especially anymore. You know what I mean? Like I'm so grateful for everything that's happened in life, but I've learned so much about myself, and one of those things is just I'm not here in a band to like I don't care if I'm ever in a spotlight or anything ever again. I just want to like make music and talk about music and work at a record store and like that's like all I give a shit about. You know what I mean?
I feel that. That's kind of the same mentality that I have as well. So I agree with
Yeah.
you on that. But Doug, I have to ask, as being kind of like a band nerd, I love to kind of know about how the sleeping started out, like what was kind of the origin story of the band, and then, what ultimately led you guys to reforming again and coming back together. Because I'm
Yeah.
also curious on that front as well.
So, okay. So I'm from, I was born overseas, but I've lived in New Jersey like most of my life.
Nice. Yeah.
Um,
Shout outs.
yeah, prior to Long Island, with the band, and I was in a band called Stillwell with a bunch of my friends from high school. Really good people who I'm actually playing with again as well. I have
Oh,
a band with
nice.
them as well. Yeah. So, so I'm from this area. We played a bunch, and basically we just kind of started like everyone started going their own way after high school, whatever. And I saw on like mp3.com, I think. I don't think it was Pure Volume. I think it was mp3.com.
Woo.
Well, Sky Came Falling, which was a hardcore band from Long Island, a legendary hardcore band. Cameron is one of the original members, and Cameron's in the Sleeping, of course, guitar player. And then Chris Tampanakis, the singer, was the person I was telling you who started One Day Savior, who first signed the Sleeping. But basically, they had made one last record, and Chris was like, "Hey, I don't really want to do this anymore, but I'm starting my own label." And what happened was the Sleeping wanted to keep going, and Sal and Joe were like the last members of Sky Came Falling before the breakup. So Sal playing bass, Joe playing drums, and then Cameron obviously being the original member. So they put out an ad, I think, on mp3.com saying, "Hey, we're looking for a singer." And in Stillwell, I played guitar and sang, but they're just looking for a singer. And I was dating this girl who used to go to Fordham University,
Oh, wow.
and
Okay.
so I was very, I was very like, I guess I can say it. I love my mother. I'm not saying this in an insulting way, but I've come from a kind of poor family, and very poor in the beginning, and like sort of poor in the end. So basically, I didn't have a cell phone. When everyone started getting cell phones, I got like my first pager. I was just
Oh,
always kind of
wow.
like behind the times, right? So I didn't have a cell phone at this time. And the cell phones that were around at this point were like the Nokia and the
The
Nextel.
bricks. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's it. Like this is, So so basically I get this, I see this ad on the desktop because there's no, I think at this point there were at least no laptops, but if there was, you have probably had to be like,
Super rich.
yeah, 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 exactly. So I see the ad on my girlfriend's computer, and I was like, oh wow, I should send them my, my songs from Stillwell. So I sent them. And then, like, I think a couple days later, a week later, I went back to her dorm, and she checked her email because I don't even think I had an email or whatever it was, a message in mp3.com or whatever. And it was like, "Hey, we like this stuff. We'd love to try you out."
Wow.
Yeah. So at that time, my mom had this like boyfriend, and she was basically moving to Pennsylvania with him. And it's like a few hours away from where we were living. And my mom had basically, you know, we always rented. So my mom, like the lease, I guess, was up in our house we were living
Sure.
in New Jersey. And my mom was like, "All right, so you're trying out for this band." She's like, "Here's the deal. You can either come with us or you can stay in this house, and like you have about a month or so left before the heat and the hot water and all that stuff like turns off, like a few weeks." So I was like, "All right, I'm just gonna stay here. I don't know why, but I just gotta like try this out for this band. So my mom left. I like moved my bed, which was already on the floor. Like I moved my mattress to the living room. I had a CD player, like a 5 disc changer, and I think that was it. And I don't even, I guess I would walk to the gas station to eat. Like it probably wasn't the best food, but
Sure.
you know, I didn't have a car or anything. So My mom moved. Eventually, the lights went out. I was literally like living in candlelight for a few weeks at this house while I was trying out for the sleeping because they didn't get back to me like right away. So I'm trying out. I'm staying with my ex, my girlfriend at the time in the dorm at Fordham, going between my house and there. And I tried out at this point like 4 or 5 times, something like that. And they're like, or maybe I tried out like twice. And they're like, all right, we're gonna give you a call pretty soon to let you know if like you made it. And I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. So like months go by, and I never got a call back. And I was like living in this house. Like, not that I had any plans of moving when I joined
Sure,
the band.
yeah.
I didn't know what the fuck was going on. So I'm like living in this house, and then I started staying. After a while, this didn't happen yet, but I started staying with a great friend of mine. We've lost touch, but amazing person, like really great person named CJ, who let me stay with his family. But before, right, that was kind of during the band. But anyway, so I'm like in this house, and I'm like, all right, fuck, I don't know what I'm gonna do. You know what I mean? So I think one day I'm going to Fordham, and what would happen was I would get off at um, Amtrak, like NJ Transit, or
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. So I would get it at Penn Station, and basically I would always cross by the Long Island Railroad like screens, and I saw the times for the trains, and I saw where I would normally take the train to try out, and I just remember looking at it being like, "Fuck you guys! Like I can't believe you never called me." Like just looking at the time. And that day, it was that day I finally made it to Fordham, and I like walk in, and my girlfriend's holding her Nextel, and she's like, Cameron's on the phone. I'm like, what? Like this is months later,
You're
so
like, "Who's this?"
I'm
Yeah.
like, what? She's like, Cameron's on the phone. I'm like, oh shit. So I like pick up the phone, and he's like, hey man, he's like, we really like what you were doing. Sorry it took forever. We just wanted to try out everyone and see what felt right, but you definitely had like something special, blah blah blah, whatever. So I was like,
Sure.
okay, cool. So eventually I wound up joining the band, and I think I was like the 26th or 27th singer or something like that they tried out. I was like one of the earlier ones, but they tried out like a bunch of people just to see,
Wow. Oh my
so
god.
yeah, so it was pretty cool. But I always tell that part of the story when people ask, but I never tell the cool part where like I remember being in Joe's room upstairs in his house. That's where we jammed the first time. And I remember going in, and we all just went fucking nuts. And I just remember looking at everyone and being like, this is sick. Like, I don't know what this is, but it felt so good. And I remember going home so excited and so happy. I was just like, this was great. Like, I don't know. It was weird. It was a weird energy, and clearly it resonated with everyone. But,
Sure.
it was so weird because I just remember I didn't know these guys at all, and it felt so weird. I was familiar with Scott King Fallen, but like I didn't know the band as people. And we're in this room, and we're just like ripping, and all of a sudden it's like we know each other,
Yeah.
and I felt so weird when I lost that when they never called me back, and I was like, man, that just felt so good. And then all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but months later, I get
Yeah.
this phone call, and here we are. That's how it happens. So
That's crazy. Well, I'm
yeah,
glad it obviously worked out to the way it did because, man, to go through all of that struggle to have them be like, I don't think it's going to work out, I would be wrecked. I feel,
yeah,
like,
it
so
was it was wild. I mean, it was fun living in the house by myself in the dark, and like, I don't know, it was weird. There was something really cool about it. And again, I wasn't as self-aware as I am now, so I might not have like, I guess like harnessed the feelings I had in those moments, but I remember feeling like, eating a can of tuna at the
ugh,
time and being like, man, this is crazy, but like, fuck it, I'm going to do this.
I'm
You know
just
what
going
I
to do
mean?
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just remember that being like a very weird time, I'm sure in the moment, but like it's very special to me now. And that's not even the first time I've lived like a vagabond by any means. I've lived in many weird scenarios, and I'm very grateful to the people who put me up in their houses. I do my best to say thank you in person. But honestly, like thinking about it right now, I'm like, fuck, I'm so grateful for all the good people in my life. And like, my mom for just being like, do you want to do this? Because if you do, like, do it, stay
Sure,
here and
yeah.
figure it out. Even that was like, who would ever say that to their
Yeah.
newly 18-year-old son? You know, it was very crazy, but I mean, it worked out. It worked out.
Yeah, I feel like the things that need to align in your life at that time, might have taken a little bit longer than it should have certainly, but
Yeah.
it worked out, and that's great. And obviously, you guys have had a great career, and obviously, you put it on pause for that. But from what I can read, at least from the notes I have, you took a 7 year break. That's quite a long time. Obviously,
Yeah.
you joined another band called Night Versus, and I followed you throughout that journey as well too.
Good. Thank you.
Um, I wanted to know what was the catalyst for you guys to get back together after that break? Because I feel like
Yeah.
that's a long time. So there might have been there might have been some unearthed stuff that maybe had to kind of come to light or whatever. But what made you ultimately want to do the sleeping again?
I mean, honestly, it's like the thing about the sleeping, it's not even so much like things being unearthed kind of thing. I mean, we're all insanely strong personalities,
Sure.
and I am from, I was raised in New Jersey, but I always tell people like Long Island is also my home because who I am today was very much shaped from my time on Long Island slash being in the band. I mean, it changed my whole life.
Sure.
So, my point being is I have this New York energy in me. And when you put four insanely strong, opinionated people in one setting where all of them are supposed to, like, quote unquote, like, run shit or
Yeah.
whatever, it's insanely interesting and not easy. So, I wouldn't say like there was never really any like, it was never any like reasonings for breakups other than just burnout and like,
Sure.
being sick of each other just as our personalities, nothing really like, but we love each other so much. I mean, I was telling you before the podcast, I was last night, me, Sal, Joe, and Cameron were in Brooklyn because we went and saw Joe play with Bob Moses, who plays drums for us. Like, we're all family and we've always been. And even throughout our weird arguments, fights, whatever you want to say, like we're like brothers. But I think, burnout being the main cause of us not wanting to be a band was definitely the main factor. I mean, we were so burnt out, we were crushing it. And when Cameron left, we lost a ton of momentum. And,
Oh,
shout out to Chris and Paul, who, recorded the last two Sleeping records with us and were a part of the band. You know, I love those dudes and we love those dudes to death, sincerely, even throughout. I can't imagine how hard it must have been for them to be these members that were replacing one guy.
yeah.
And, I think there was a lot of animosity sometimes in those situations because, we were hard on them, you know what I mean? And they were awesome and took it in stride and we all really like still worked hard together. But, losing Cameron was a big part of the sleeping's like stunted growth. And we were like on this insane trajectory to like really make something happen. And when Cameron left, we kind of lost all that. And we were able to maintain with Paul and Chris and the band continuing, but it just never felt the same. And after a few years, we were talking to Cameron again. It's not like we didn't want to talk to him in like a fuck you way. We just like never talked,
Sure.
because
Yeah.
everyone was just doing their own thing. Like, I think we kept in touch, but it wasn't like, oh, I'm not going to talk to you. But it wasn't like, oh, like I got to call this dude or we got to call each other. Like,
Yeah.
it was just sort of like, at least the first few years. But after a few years, still being broken up for many years, we were like, we all started, we were just like in each other's, I guess, like lives more.
Sure.
But, Sal is Sal, I mean, the whole band are my brothers, but Sal is my best friend. He was my best man at my wedding. Him and I have always been, the
Close.
dynamic duo. And then Joe, me, Joe, and Sal, plowed through the sleeping together the whole time. So Joe has a very special place in my heart. And
Sure.
then Cameron, obviously having a special place in our heart because, we lost him, but he will always be our brother because of what we've all been through together.
Sure,
And
sure, sure.
when you get older, you just realize that stuff. You know what I mean? And you're like, what's the point of being annoyed or mad at someone? Like, he left to, move to London with the woman who became his wife for a long
Mhm.
time. And, so it's not like it was just kind of like, oh, I'm out of here. There was reason and logic behind it. So, not that there has to be, but, it was definitely more of a subtle blow, knowing that it was more, something that actually wound up sticking with him for many years. And I think when you get older, you're just like, who cares?
Yeah.
Like you realize you want to do other things. I started playing with night verses, and those guys really helped me also realize you can do other things. You can play in other bands. You can be other things. And for so long, it was always like the sleeping, the sleeping, the sleeping, the sleeping.
Sure, yeah.
But then, yeah, then you start to realize, fuck, you can do whatever you want and still care about one thing just as much. And when you're younger in a band, I mean, it used to be the craziest thing when your band members in high school would like play with another band. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, this is our band, man.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? It's like now I'm like, it's like not like that at all. Like, I want to be in other bands. I want my friends to be in other bands. Like seeing Joe last night play for Bob Moses, like every time I see him play with them, I'm always like, man, I'm so fucking proud of this dude. It's like
Sure, yeah.
awesome, and it's like, why would anyone ever like hold that from people? So, anyway, point being is like you start to realize these things that mattered don't really matter at all. It's like the high school syndrome,
Yeah.
high school always felt like it was the end of the world. And like it was nothing. It was a blip in my life, 4 years of like nothing, and not saying like what I've accomplished, but just 4 years of just like
Sure.
drama for no
Just
reason,
went away,
So,
yeah.
so you start to realize these things, and Cameron and I started talking a bunch because Cameron and I we were all equally close, but Cameron and I just started really forming like this crazier relationship, and Cameron and I were the original two to really start talking about like getting the band back together because we were all so burnt out at first, like no one wanted to. I was definitely guilty of it too, but I think at some point we were just like, man, what would this sound like if we did another record? And this is like years before we even went into the studio. Like Cameron and I would just talk for years about it. Like, we, kind of like I said before, I think we started the podcast too. It's like we don't do anything because everyone else does it. We do what
Sure.
we want, and we don't. If it hurts us in the end, like we also are just like whatever. Like it's what we are, and we had many offers to play festivals and play shows, and we always said no. We were just like, nah, we're like chilling right now, life's good, or whatever the case is, right? And again, I say like to our detriment because years and years pass by now, and we have to kind of regain our footing
Sure,
where
yeah.
these people were kind of chomping at the bit in the beginning, but that's not how we are, and we just weren't ready in those moments. And me and Cameron continuing to talk and like really start talking to everybody else and getting a feel, and people being very hesitant, and my own hesitation and Cameron's own hesitation, and eventually I don't know when the moment was where we like consciously said it, but we were supposed to play Irving Plaza
Hmm.
at one of our reunion shows after the pandemic had passed, but right when the resurgence started happening,
Oh,
where it started coming back during the holidays, like I think the year after it like mellowed
yes, yeah,
out.
yeah, yeah.
So we were going to play Irving, and all of Irving Plaza got COVID, and as did people start getting it very close in our circle, and like from our friend Christian, who managed our band at one point, is a very good friend. He runs Live Nation, so deals with all the venues. He was like, "Yo," he's like, if you guys want to take this show, I have to find like a whole other crew because everybody is coming down with COVID and like in everybody's circle. And at that point, we were like, you know, our circle's starting to get it, and it's like we probably shouldn't do this. It just
Sure.
doesn't feel right. So we made the decision to not do it, and we did it from the Leaky Life. I'm sorry, we did it from Amityville Music Hall, which is a bar that Sal owned for a long time with our friend Dan, who Dan still owns. But we were basically practicing there for the show, so we called and made the decision from there, and we had all of our gear on the stage. and we were like, should we just like jam? Like, should we just like write a song, whatever? And in an hour, we wrote the first song on the record. And I think in that hour, just realizing like, oh shit, like we still have this. Our chemistry, for whatever the sleeping is, we do not lack chemistry. You know what I mean? Like our chemistry when we write and we play is like insane.
I
And
agree.
there's tons of bands that have great chemistry, but like I'll never forget my wife having dinner with us right before our first show back together. And I remember this was when we played in 2016 when we played Paramount. And I remember us having dinner and like everyone like, we all left. We got out to go back to the venue, which is like right next to where we ate. And my wife kind of pulled me aside and she's like, I get it. She's like, I realize why you need this band. She's like, just sitting there watching you guys like fuck with each other at the dinner table and just be idiots. She's like, I've never seen like chemistry like this between four people. She's like, you guys have to be this. Whatever it is, wherever it goes. She's like, this is a real part of like your life that I never saw in this way until now. And I remember that just feeling really special because we do have this crazy chemistry that not many bands have. And, at least the way we do. And, of
I would
course,
agree.
I'm selfish and feel that way. But, I'm sure everyone else is like, hey, yeah, we do. But, I don't know. There's just something very special about the sleeping. And I think after we wrote that first song, we started realizing, like, oh, yeah, we still have this. And then we linked back up with, Mike Birnbaum and Chris Bittner, who did three of our four records prior to making the new record. And we were just like, yo, we just don't have any expectations. We don't know what this is, but we wrote a dope song and like we want to go to the studio and we want to go with nothing. And we just want to write and record and see what happens. And
Sure.
the whole record, besides the first song, was written in the studio. So it's like, it's pretty cool. I'm super hyped for it.
I'm excited too because I went back just because I knew I was gonna have you on, and I went back and listened to some old stuff. The songs I listened to, of course, don't hold back. I had to. You gotta start with the OG classic. And then I went back and listened to Loud and Clear, Believe What We Tell You, and then I listened to the two new songs that are out now, which are Tainted and No Light. And I gotta say, like, for not listening to your band since as of more currently and going back
Yeah,
and
yeah,
doing a little bit of homework, I was like, wow, some of these songs that were older, I'm like, I forgot how classic they sound and how much of
yeah,
that era is like ingrained in my head where I'm like,
yeah.
this is awesome. But then I got to give you a massive compliment because the two new songs, I was like really vibing with them a lot. I really enjoyed the newest one, Tainted. That one was fantastic.
Good,
And
thank you.
I was like, there's like you said, there's something about like the chemistry of your band and listening to the two new songs. I was like, nothing skipped a beat. Like it just from like the old stuff traveling into the new stuff, it feels like there's no gap. Like it just kind of
Hell
just
yeah.
like you just kind of like turned the page and it was 2023.
Yeah,
And that I
thank
think
you.
that to me was the coolest thing about your music. I think that the way that you guys could still like alter time in that way of being like, This is still us. We're still going to create what we do." And it still feels very true to your sound and what you guys have created over the years,
Yeah,
decades now at this point. And so I just I wanted to listen to the new record. I think that's what really gave me kind of more of the urge to just listen to the rest of it because I felt very much akin to the old stuff. But now I'm like, what are they gonna do on this album? Like this is kind
yeah,
of crazy. So I'm excited. I think it's gonna really hype me up to obviously speak to you beforehand before the album comes
yeah,
out.
yeah.
But it was really cool to kind of go through that. But I have to ask Doug because we talked about it a little bit off camera, but the new album is I feel like becoming a ghost, which by the time this comes out will be out. But you guys raised your goal like halfway through it, like 24 hours in, and then according to your wiki, you received the full amount on March 31st. Like, how did that feel for you guys? Because like as I mentioned, you took a break from doing the band and for other people to kind of come out and be like, we still love your band, we still want to support what you do. Like,
Yeah.
I'm curious how you guys felt about that and being like, wow, people still give a shit about us. That's amazing.
Yeah, it felt, first of all, thanks for all the kind words you said too. Like, yeah, it means a lot. It felt, I hate like sounding, I hate like using like performative language, I guess, but it felt surreal.
Sure.
Honestly, like it definitely felt very surreal. I mean, there's not really much else I can say when I saw the goal get met in like 9 days, because I'll be the first to admit I was someone who like was not down in the beginning with the Kickstarter. I just
Sure.
wasn't down with it. I was like, I don't want to feel like I'm begging for money from people, which honestly, the thing I think that helped me okay the Kickstarter was the fact that we had already paid for the record ourselves.
Oh wow.
We,
Okay.
yeah, so basically what we set the goal as was basically a recoup for what we made and to ship out the merch from the Kickstarter. That's
Wow.
really,
Okay.
yeah, like, we weren't trying to make money off of
Sure.
anyone. We
Sure.
just
Yeah.
want this to happen. And we don't have a label. We decided in the beginning to see what happens doing this ourselves with the help of fans. And I didn't really want to do that at first until I felt better knowing that, okay, well, we funded the record. We're not like begging people for money. I made sure the band knew I didn't want to always post about it like every single day. Like, in the beginning, of course, it's like a rollout plan, but like I
Yeah.
don't want it to be this thing where our only communication is like, did you
Check
buy our
out this. Yeah.
Kickstarter?
Check out this
Yeah,
Kickstarter.
like
Yeah, I got you.
I just wasn't into it. And I think all of us had like of course, our hesitations at first, but it wound up working out, and I realized it's really awesome when I'm still writing these handwritten lyrics, but like, writing these lyrics for people who want them, and getting ordering the vinyl. I collect records. I'm a big record
Oh,
collector.
nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I curated the records for this release, the colorway, and with the help of Cameron's brother, who helped us like get the artwork and the
That's so
layout
sick.
together. Who helped us like kind of piece together the format of the record itself. But I curated with the pressing plan, like the colorways, the friends and family, and that was very important for me because I've become very obsessed with vinyl collection. I work at
Same.
a record shop. It's like my whole existence. And, um, it was really special to see people ordering that stuff as a record collector and as a
Yeah.
lover. I was like, okay, this is sick. And I started realizing like the Kickstarter is really essentially like a merch store, save for the people that are just like, I just want to donate to you guys, which was incredible. Like just seeing people not even get anything, but just donate. I was like, thank you so much. Like, you don't like buy something, get
Yeah.
something. But it was really cool to see. And it was, I don't know, it's just cool to be like, wow, people still care,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
in this day and age where we're so oversaturated with bands and music and visual art and everything's just in your face constantly, we're just forgetting our attention spans. Like, to see that we still resonate with people, it is a really beautiful thing, and it makes me really happy because I'll always be proud of who I am, but like I don't want to die feeling like I didn't do something that made a difference.
Sure.
And I
Same.
know I did, and I know that's like I know that in hindsight I have made a difference musically, to what makes me happy. But like I just never want to die feeling like I didn't keep going. And
Sure. Yeah.
to see this happen, and was like, hell yeah, like people still care, and I don't need to be in any spotlight. I'm just so happy people still connect with essentially what is part of therapy for me.
Sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
obviously besides my actual therapy, like music is and has always been therapeutic for mostly everyone. But for me, I like really take music sacred. Music is very sacred to me.
Agreed. Agreed.
And,
Yeah.
to see my music still resonating with our music, still resonating with people, and my lyrics. And, it makes me really happy because, I am someone who goes through shit every day, as we all do. And when people are like, your music has put me, helped me through so much. It's like, that means so much to me because music has done the same for me like I would not. I don't know how I would. I don't know where I would be or if I would be without music, especially now as an adult, realizing the world is not as easy as it used to be,
Yeah.
and the realities of it. Like I don't think I would. And I'm grateful for my wife, and I'm grateful for my animals, but like I genuinely don't know if that would sometimes be enough if it weren't for like music that makes me feel, and feel good, and obviously friends and things and a support system. But I've become way more introverted as an adult. I don't like to go out. I don't really drink anymore at all. Like I just like to like hang out with my family, listen to music, collect records. I work at an amazing record store. It's just me and the owner, and that's probably like one of the greatest like joys of my life is when I get to go there and like sling records and just like blast music with my friend. It's awesome.
I love that. Well, you made that so wholesome, Doug, and I appreciate that. As again, someone who also collects an ungodly amount of vinyl, I wish I could show you, but
Yeah,
I have a lot. So
nice.
I'm hoping that eventually, I know I probably missed out obviously on the Kickstarter, but if there is any future like vinyl releases for the new album, I'm gonna have to grab that.
We have a couple. We
Oh,
got some like usually when you order from pressing plants, they'll send you like what you order. They'll send you like sometimes 20 to like
extra.
50 more. So I got you.
Oh, thank you. I
Yeah, of
appreciate
course,
it. That would
of
be
course.
amazing. And I obviously
Just
have to
remind
ask.
me because as you know, I'm forgetful.
I also have to ask, is there any possible in the works for like older material to be pressed on vinyl? Because I feel like I gotta complete the collection, you know?
Yeah, I would love for that to be a thing. I don't know with Victory because we're like, obviously we're not on Victory anymore. That
Yeah, yeah,
Victory has been sold, and our catalog is still a part of the company that bought out
the
Victory.
OG,
But
yeah.
you know, I they own that, so I don't know how we go about that. I
Hmm,
mean, we've been looking into it with our legal team, but like, I would like that. I mean, Victory pressed questions and answers on vinyl without us knowing. I remember the announcement and I was like, what the fuck? Like all of us were like, what? And we had to we eventually wrote them, and we've considered Victory a wash, right? We've
sure,
made a career. We obviously have made a great career out of our music, but you got to cut your losses with certain things. In Victory, it's like we just sort of had to cut our losses. So we don't dwell on the past. We called them and we're like, yo, you're fucking making these records without us. Can you at least send us some records? I don't fucking care
sure.
anymore about your money. Just send me the records, And and I was able to, I have a couple. And actually it's like funny slash pathetic. Like this is how funny the Victory situation is. I got Someone wrote me on my Instagram like a year ago. It was like, hey man, I'm a big fan. Um, I won your test pressing of questions and answers at on a Victory IG contest. And they're like, I know you're a big vinyl collector, and I know you've mentioned like, how hard it is to get like your own
Oh,
stuff. They're
what?
like, can I just send you the record for guest list to your next show? And I was like, of course. So I got them into the show. But I have like the test pressing of questions and answers now too, because so a fan, sorry, not a kid, but a fan sent me my own test pressing because he's like, it's almost like, dude, I feel so bad for you. Just take this thing.
Oh my
But
God.
yeah, it's funny. It's
Oh,
funny.
that hurts me as someone who collects. I don't have any test presses, but
Yeah.
maybe I'll wind up pulling the trigger on some. But man, that hurts so bad. Oh man, I'm
Yeah,
glad you got it though. You know,
yeah, totally. And it's a funny story. And like, you know, I think the business side of Victory, obviously I would love to see what I deserve from them and what
sure,
we deserve from them. But it's either that or you go down this crazier rabbit hole and like, exorbitant amount of money to get out of it, and and hassle. And I think we were just to the point where we're so burnt out, and we made a great career anyway. We're just like,
it's
what,
not worth
whatever's
it.
left, fuck it, you know? So this stuff's more like comical to me now, you know, like it's crazy. And I'm like, I can't fucking believe that's the way it had to happen. But it's also like a really funny story. And that person who gave that to me is like such a solid human for that, you know?
Oh, that's amazing. Well, I'm glad again, I'm glad you got it back because if that didn't happen, then I feel like I would have been hurt by it. If I
Yeah.
had gotten it, I would have definitely given it to you as well. I just feel like
Oh, thanks,
that's the
man.
community. But I love that. I have the next question for you, Doug. One of my best friends, Jared, he's a huge sleeping fan, so I feel like I have to ask this on his behalf. Is there any songs off of your older releases that you feel like you guys still jam today? Obviously, I know you guys have played some live shows as you
Yeah.
are currently, but is there any ones that kind of hold a special meaning from your older catalog?
So I have such a love hate relationship with the songs lyrically
Okay.
because I mean everything I've ever written is like right, you know, off the sleeve. You know
Sure.
what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's so hard to sing these because I'm such a different person,
Hmm.
but it's also so cool to sing them as an adult knowing I've made it through these things, right? So like there's like some like weird love hate kind of thing that I deal with. But honestly, like playing them now is so fun. And I think the one that really resonates with me the most, I used to never realize how good of a song it was to me. Like it
Hmm.
was, I'm always proud of all our stuff, but like I've never like, there's certain ones I latch on to and certain ones I don't. And now when I play loud and clear, I'm like,
Ooh.
fuck, this song ripped. Like I love the energy of it when we play it. And like it's become probably my favorite song to play and perform and play with the band, you know, not just speaking on for myself, like the energy of all of us, like loud and clear is something that like hit me more than ever on these like this new, you know, iteration of the sleeping. You know, that is something I every time we're playing now, I'm like, I look so forward to when Loud and Clear comes. Usually it's like second song whenever we've been playing it, but that one like crept up out of nowhere, and I was like, holy shit! Like I never realized how much I love this song, and then you know that like has been like resonating with me a lot. And then in other songs, we started playing Dead Beast
Ooh.
off
Okay.
of What It Takes, and we had never played that live until the last couple shows we played. And
Wow.
those are that's like it's a really hard one to sing because it's about my dad and just our history in this like very, you know, my way of talking about it. And my dad and I are cool now, so it's like a very weird song to sing because I mean, for 20 plus years of my life we weren't cool, and you know, no, 30 years of my life we weren't cool, and now like we are. So it's like still fresh enough when I sing it that it's like a little painful, but I love playing it live because, you know, selfishly speaking, I'm much better of a vocalist now than I was then. I mean, I was drunk every night back in the day. You know, we were raging all the time. It was like we wouldn't fucking sleep, and then we'd stay up all night and then play a show and then drive and then sleep in our sweat in the van.
Uh,
Now I'm like, you know, I take care of myself and I'm athletic and I take care of my voice and I'm sounding better than I ever have. So these songs that I probably would have never been able to really pull off live, now we're like playing them, and I'm like, fuck yeah, I love playing this song. So I'm like, I could sing this song. This is dope.
I
So I think that's why I like Dead Beast too.
I can agree because I did watch the Saint Vitus. Like somebody took a video of your entire set, and I was like,
Yeah,
let me relive some glory days a little bit. So I
yeah.
watched it, and I was just like, holy shit! I'm like, Doug can really fucking sing. Like, not that I didn't
Thanks,
think you
dude.
couldn't, but I was just like,
Yeah, yeah.
he is. I'm like, he's jumping around, he's moving, he's kicking. Like, I mean, it's still hitting the notes super well. I honestly was like super impressed, and and
Thanks, dude.
I was like, man, it just had the right feeling. Like you mentioned before, it's just like this, like you guys have this sort of camaraderie and you could tell that live. Like the energy in that room was just like super electric. So I'll leave a
Totally.
link in the description. Go watch it. It's
Yeah, please
10 out of
do.
10 performance. I loved it. It was such a good thing to watch. And I literally was sitting here at my computer desk and I was like, bro, this is nuts. So I'm hopefully gonna get to see you in, because Harrisburg's not far away from where I live now. So
Nice.
I'll have to come out and see you guys just to blow my face off. So I'm excited.
Hell yeah. Yeah, sick, dude. That'd be sick.
But the next question I have for you, Doug, is obviously want to talk to about the new album. I feel like I'm becoming a ghost. Do you have a favorite off the new album that you're excited for people to hear?
Yeah, dude, it's so funny because we've been like planning this record so much more than we've ever like really planned any other record that I'm already like so burnt out. But not like in a song way, just like I'm like, oh my God, the new record. We've been like, going so like we're going so full speed with it and it's like still a month away. I haven't really listened to it since we like approved the songs,
Hmm.
like the mixes and whatnot. And obviously it's mastered now. So now that it's been kind of sealed away, but I really like the title track, which is the last
Ooh,
song. I feel like I'm becoming a ghost. Um, there, it was a very special moment. Like I guess you can say like it was very vivid when I wrote that song. That song, this whole record is about, and I really try not to sound performative because it bothers me so much because I never want to be that person.
sure. Yeah.
But all of our records and most music is about most lyrics for any artist are usually in some way about their mental health. So obviously I'm sort of, preaching to this proverbial choir, but this entire record is about my mental health as an adult and my
Hmm.
self-awareness of my mental health. And you know, the fact that I realize I have like a ton of issues and I've been working through them for years. And, I have this newfound, not newfound, but this modern day self-awareness for myself. And, this record is the most self-aware I've ever been lyrically. Usually lyrics are very much about feeling lost. Um, Everything I've ever written about is in the moment and in the moment of sort of like not knowing what's going on with myself, where now I'm writing is I know what's going on with myself
Hmm. Hmm.
and it's not perfect by any means, or it's, very damaged. And that's what a lot of this record is about. And I feel like I'm becoming a ghost is about the realization that like I, we are stepping back into this and like, does anyone care? Am I relevant? Is that what matters to me? It isn't, but it's like when you're doing this again and you're giving it to people, it's like who's even gonna take it? Who
Sure.
cares? Who
Yeah.
gives a shit? And I'm always proud I made a record for me and we made a record for us, but it's like I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to die feeling like I don't want to die feeling like my mark was never made with something I love for the sake of making a mark because I love it. I don't do it for any other reason than I want to be the best I can be. And I've worked hard and I've been given this world that I live in of being this musician that has made some impact. And, this whole record deals with like, am I ready for that again? Do I care? Do others care? And that song particularly, I feel like I'm becoming a ghost. I was starting the recording process for vocals.
Hmm.
Um, and I was sitting on the hood of my car outside, and Mike and Chris, the studio in Woodstock is called Applehead Recording, and that's where we record. And we've made 4 of our 5 records there, and it's like a second home. I've seen that place in every element. And, we've made records in the winter, the dead of winter, the summer. We've made records in, the fall, freezing cold, wet. And I just remember that the day I was going in to start vocals, and I believe we were starting, or at least this day I was starting with I Feel Like I'm Becoming a Ghost. I just remember looking up and just looking at everything and seeing how beautiful the scenery was and how it felt so like it felt so new to me, but also I was so comfortable
Mhm.
where I was. So it was this very kind of serene, kind of like beautiful feeling. But at the same time, I was like scared because I'm like, fuck, man, like, do I even want to do this anymore like this? You know, like this, is this who I am anymore? Like, am I going to have to like go full speed ahead again when I have like this beautiful life at home that I don't want to leave for more than a few days out of
Sure.
the
Yeah.
week, I don't want to leave more than a few days out of the month or whatever the case. And I had to really sit there and contemplate if this is what I wanted to do. And in the end, it's always what I want to do. But, you know, there's a way to do it now that was never a way to do it back then. And,
Sure. Yeah.
coming to terms with that was also a lot of this record. Like, how are we going to do this the right way? And I just remember sitting on the hood of my car and kind of writing these lyrics and getting ready because I don't really write lyrics before while we're writing and stuff. I just kind of mouth out the sounds. And when we have a song we do scratch tracks to, I get in the booth with a notepad and then I start really like writing in the
Oh,
notepad
wow.
I'm
Okay.
like, oh, I started saying, the sun is setting. Yeah, I'm kidding. And I'm like, okay, cool. What am I trying to say? And then I start realizing, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I realize now I'm writing this from the hood of this car, looking at the sunset, which was like purple, blue, with a little hue of like yellow. And I just remember being like, fuck, man, what a beautiful day to be in a place I love so much and I'm so familiar with, but also like I am so scared that like, is this going to work again? Am
Sure.
I going
Yeah.
to do this? You know, does everybody feel the same way I feel in the band? There was just a lot of moments where, and that's why I really like that song a lot, and that's why I really like the connectivity of it with the record, and the fact that it wound up becoming the album title. But the other song that I'm very excited about, and I think it's going to really possibly like change a trajectory for us and
Mm.
for our fans, is Halcyon.
Okay.
And that song is going to be the last single we release before the record comes out. And I don't know, there's a really good feeling we have with this song. It's nothing we've ever done before, and everyone who's heard it has, in multiple avenues of business, friends, everyone is like, this is the greatest song you guys have ever written, and like this could be a song that like many people like feel that sentiment. So I mean, either way, we'll see what happens. I love it, but I am very hyped for that song as well, because I do believe that that has the potential to really reach a lot of people, and lyrically as well. So I mean, but again, that's part of this whole record. Like, am I thinking too much about that right now in our conversation? Like, I start to think to myself, like, who fuck cares? But I don't know. I mean, I battle with myself every day. My thoughts
Sure.
are like fighting each other right now.
Well,
But
hopefully not. Hopefully we're chilling it out. But I find that like a lot of artists are like obviously hypercritical of what they do, right? I think if you're not doing that, then you get comfortable, right? So I think for me, it kind of gives me that inherent thought to be like, this is gonna be great because the fact that you're just like, I don't know if people are gonna fucking love it or hate it, right? And I think that's kind of the coolest thing about it is that like you really won't know until it happens, right? Like that's it just kind of
totally.
like when people hear it, they're gonna hear it and they're gonna resonate. But I would say based off of what I've seen in the least for the comments for both Tainted and No Light, like people seem to be on board with it. I went through most of the comments on your YouTube channel and I was like, people still care, and I think that that's kind of like the
Yeah,
coolest thing about it is that like even if you're a band that's taking time off and that like obviously if you're an OG band like people still are like the sleeping's back, they're doing stuff like that's amazing, and that now maybe because we're all older, we can now resonate more with what you have to say, even with older stuff as well as
yeah,
newer stuff. So I think
totally.
that's going to be an interesting ride, and I'm excited to reviewing it. I'm going to be doing it live, so I'll be going through the entire album live. So
Oh,
guys, if you want to
shit.
join me, come hang out. I don't know when the album is coming out. I have a date, I believe, but I don't know if it's the case or not.
It's August 18th.
August 18th. Okay, so
Yeah.
Cool. So I have time. So check the links below. It will be you'll come hang out with me. It'll be awesome. I'm excited.
Rick,
But
I'm gonna watch that, and you
oh,
can say whatever you want. I want to watch that. I want to hear how people. I just want to hear how people, receive
sure. Receive it.
how they perceive it in their own way, and like, you know, I don't. It's like I don't know. I have this weird thing where like I don't want to hear what people have to say, and I do at the same time, and like not for like a nail biting way of oh, is it? It's just like I just love having debates with and conversations with people about music. I don't care if it's my band or not. Like I want to hear what people think about music. You have your certain reviewers where they like act like it's like a product they're reviewing,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
I want to hear people talk about music. And you seem like the person who would do it in the way where you're like talking about music. It's not like, it's not what I thought it sounded like 20 years ago, blah, blah, blah. But like, even if it wasn't positive critique or like thoughts, you would still, it just feels like you would still come at it from a musical
Sure.
standpoint
Yeah,
where
absolutely.
like, that's, that's what I like to hear. I love talking to people about things that they like and don't like and why they don't. But like in the way that's like, oh, okay, cool. Like at the end of the day, it's art, right? And art is meant to be challenged. It's meant to be loved, hated. It's meant whatever. But I think we live in this world where so many people's personas take over what the objective is. Where like, talking with you, it doesn't feel like that. So
Oh.
now I'm like, oh shit, I want to watch his review and like
Oh.
see what his thoughts are. You know what I mean? Like,
It will
um,
be live and in the moment. So, I will not listen. I told myself, you listen to Tainted once, you listen to No Light once, that's all you're
yeah.
going to get. And then when the album comes out, you're going to listen to it all fresh and new and all that sort of stuff.
How do you review it? Like, do you do through digital, or are you gonna like blast it in your room, or like what?
Oh
Like,
no, it will be played.
yeah,
So
like do the
basically,
setup.
it'll just be played through the setup, and I will literally be sitting here in front of my camera, going on YouTube live, and you'll literally get my immediate thoughts
Sick.
on it. And there will be a live chat and all that sort of stuff. So I
Nice,
imagine you'll be commenting a ton in the live chat. So I'm excited.
nice, dude.
So
Let me
very
ask you a question.
sure thing.
What's your favorite record of your collection?
Wow, you're really giving me a weighted question here, Doug. I
I
appreciate it.
know.
Man of culture. God, man. I feel like I have to give two if
Yes,
you'll allow me to.
of
So
course.
the first one is a record that I love. I had the opportunity to interview Cove from Seosin when his new project Dead American, but I absolutely love Seosin's self-titled album. That was like one of the first albums that really got me into the scene, and it really got me like I can recite that album. So
Nice.
that to me is uh an album I love, and my shout out to my buddy Dave. He was selling it like years ago. And he was like, "Hey, looking to get rid of this." And I was like, "Bro, what? Why would you give this record away? This is amazing." I was like, "It's okay, give it away because I want to buy it." So,
Yeah.
so he was like, "Oh, just," he's like, "I'll sell it to you for this much." And I was like, "Okay, great." So he lived close in Jersey, so I wound up driving to him, picking it up. We hung out for a little bit. It was great. Shouts to Dave. Love that dude. So I would say that one's my number one. Number two, with a close second, I just got, or not just got, but like more currently, I guess in the timeline, I got City and Colors "Bring Me Your Love" on
Nice.
vinyl, and I absolutely adore City and Color, one of the greatest artists of our generation, certainly. So I
Oh
feel like
yeah.
I hold a lot of love for it. But I want to say that I was on the site when it dropped. It's the color variant sold out in like under a minute, and so I bought the black one because I was like, I'm gonna buy the record regardless. I don't care if
Yeah, of
it's
course.
colored or not, whatever. So a couple weeks go by, I see people getting it in hand, and I'm like, okay, where's my record, right? The thoughts go in your head where like, did it get
Yeah.
lost, whatever. So I wind up emailing them, and I was like, I never got this. Can you just let me know where it's at? I'm not like pushy or anything. I just kind of
Yeah. Yeah.
want to know where it went. Went to a good home, whatever, right? And they were like, "Oh, sorry, we didn't send it out yet, but here's the link. We sent you another one." And I was like, "Okay, no problem." So I get it, and I open it up and it's the colored one.
The color
I
version.
was
Yes,
like,
dude.
"No
Nice.
way." I was so
Nice.
hyped about it. So I feel like
That's
that one,
sick.
just out of sheer luck, I got the color version and it came out great. So shout outs to Dine In Records. They're great. But
Yeah,
I would
that's
say
tight.
that those two right now are my favorites. I would love to own a test pressing. I feel like that at some point I will probably have one. I just have to wait for one that I'm really feeling. But yeah, I would say those two right now are my favorites. What about you, Doug?
Nice, dude. That's sick. Shout out to both those bands. The
Yes.
freaking, like obviously Dallas and Cove and Seostin. I was very close with Chris for a while from
Oh,
Seostin.
nice.
Like, yeah, like I mean, just when we tour together, we'd always like hang. He's like such a dope dude, and Bo's a really nice guy. And then obviously like Dallas and the Alexis, family. Like it's been a long time, but we've shared the stage with them overseas, and we hung out with them a bunch. We did a tour with them in the States, and I love all those dudes. Like, no matter how little or much you talk to people, it's like they were always so good to us. And yeah, just wanted to say that.
I know
That's
it's a
very,
heavy question.
I know it's very difficult. So I mean, honestly, I guess so. I'm waiting in
Ooh.
in I'm waiting like by a turn of fate. It hasn't happened yet, but my ultimate holy grail
Okay. Okay.
is the one of the first pressings. I don't care if it's the A or B. I'd eventually love both, but Tool's Anima.
Oh.
That would be like once I get that record, I'm at the point now where I have almost everything I want in terms of what I like. Um, but that would be the one where I'd be like, okay, now I need nothing else. I think honestly, probably probably this Deftones promo first press of White
Oh.
Pony. This would probably be like right now one of my favorites that I just got.
Oh my God.
I don't know if you're familiar with this one, but I think there was only like I think 1,000 or 2,000 made, and it's the first press of White Pony in red vinyl.
Oh
So
my God.
yeah, and it's in this like PVC sort of like nylon slipcase. Um, I work at Vinyl Addiction Records, which is an awesome record store in
Shout
New
outs.
Jersey. Yeah, and Dave being like, one of my very close friends. Anytime a collection comes in of stuff he knows I love, he's like, dude, he's like, you got to come down here right now, like pick your stuff out. And this actually wound up being from his personal collection because he owns like, I think he owns like 10,000 records or something. And he had this, and one day he just come. It was like after my birthday, and he just comes into work one day, and he's like, you're gonna like this way more than me. He's like, it just sits on my shelf. I don't listen to it nearly as much as I know you will. He's like, I've never listened to it. So yeah, so this is definitely like a big one for me.
Oh, that's
Uh,
amazing. I love that.
yeah, that's a huge one. At the drive-in relationship of command,
Ooh.
first press is a really big one. You know what else is really good too? And this is kind of a sleeper. Are you familiar with One Day as a Lion?
I am not. No. I'll have to check it out now.
So this is Dak De La Rocha from Rage Against the
Oh,
Machine
wow.
singing and
Okay.
playing keys and singing, and John Theodore from the Mars Volta, who's now drumming for Queens of the Stone Age. It's him on drums, and it's fucking awesome. It was on Epitaph. They only made one record, and the fucking grooves on
Oh,
this record and like just that is so nasty. Like this is definitely like one of my favorite records.
I'm gonna check that one
Um,
out for sure.
yeah, so that is definitely one that I definitely need to always show in my collection because I'm very proud of that. And then I think after that, I would have to say, I'll do one more. This Mars Volta Francis the Mute
Ooh.
promo. So this is another one of these like insanely rare. I think only 1,000 or 500 of these were made, but it's Francis the Mute. It's in like this like another kind of
Sleeve.
nylon or
Yeah.
plastic, whatever sleeve. It's still sealed. I've never opened it because I have the Mars Volta box set,
Yeah.
so it has everything. And for this year's record store day, they put out Francis the Mute, the unreleased song on glow in the dark vinyl.
Oh.
And that is so this is Francis the Mute, and then it comes with the glow in the dark original unreleased Francis the Mute single. So this is from like, I think it's from 2000 and whatever. I don't remember exactly what year this is from. I think it's 2002 or something like that. But this is still sealed because I have all the contents elsewhere. But this is something that I don't think I'll ever open. But I
Sure,
just
yeah.
like love it so much. Like I'm never gonna like part with it by any means. So those are some very special ones in my collection. Um, I mean, I could talk about this shit all day, dude. So,
I don't blame you. Wow.
and then I think just something to show off.
Oh, okay, okay. I
It's
love
not
this.
even it's not like a crazy pressing, but show off as in I've just been listening to it like crazy.
Oh, I love
Um,
this.
probably the best record. Oh, I think I
You're
probably
good.
the best record so far this year, and I think it will be my album of the year. But King Gizzard, Lizard, and the Lizard Wizard. This is Petro Dragonic Apocalypse. It's I don't know if you're familiar with King Gizzard, but
I
they're this
am,
fucking
yeah.
awesome band from Australia that basically, on the on surface level, explaining this for anyone who doesn't know, they just do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah.
I mean, every record is different. This record is like Tool meets Motorhead. I mean, it's like the craziest record I've heard in a very long time. I've been listening to it like 15 times a day. Seriously, it's like insanely, ridiculously like incredible. So I'm just really excited
That's
about that.
sick.
So yeah, I mean, I can literally go through
Oh,
this all day and night, but
oh,
you
I
know.
know, I know. I'm the same way. I'll also give a special shout out. My boy sent me Cult America, Great Haven. He just mailed
Oh,
it to
sick!
me.
Hell yeah!
So I was like, I don't have this. And he was just like, do you just want it? And I was like, well, yeah, of course I would want it. And I was like, you don't have to send it to me. And he just wind up mailing it out. So shout outs. I love
Yeah,
Grey
that's
Haven.
fucking sick.
They're such
Hell
a
yeah!
sick band. So big ups to them. So I feel like I
Hell
gotta give
yeah!
them a shout. But next question I have for you, Doug, is what are you currently listening to? Obviously, is Gizzard, but what are some other artists you're currently jamming to right now?
So there's that. So Knapsack just reissued. I don't know if you've ever listened to Knapsack or the Jealous Sounds.
The Jealous
Um,
Sounds I've heard of, yeah.
yeah. So the singer of the Jealous Sound was in a band prior to that, and maybe a couple other members, but definitely just the singer. But he was in a band called Knapsack, which I grew up on. Early emo, I guess you could
Ooh,
say, sort of
okay.
indie, but like emo when it was like the authentic emo.
Emo, yeah.
Not
I
necessarily
got you.
what emo is. Nothing against the emo I'm lumped in with, or
Sure,
whatever, but
yeah.
earlier emo. This great band called Knapsack, one of my favorite bands ever, and they reissued a bunch of their records, and they put out a box set. They put
Ooh.
out like two or three different variants. So I got the box set, which is really cool. But this awesome dude, Jeff O'Neill, he does content for The Sleeping. A lot of the content that you see from The Sleeping on our Instagram. He also is a designer for like artwork and layouts, and he did these sleeves for this record shop in the city. He made these like alternate sleeves for the Knapsack records that were only limited to the shop. And meeting him through the band, he was really cool, and he gave me his like artist like pressings of his alternate sleeves. So not only do I have the box set, but I also have the three records that have the sleeves. And because I was just so excited that he like hooked me with the sleeves, and plus I love Knapsack, but I've been listening to those records again. And
Oh my God.
hold on, I gotta find K. Give me a second. Here we go. This record I grew up on. It's like a life-changing record. It's called "This Conversation Is Ending, Starting Right Now," and this is the alternate sleeve right here
Oh,
that Jeff made. And I've been so hyped on this that I've just been listening to that like crazy. This is the actual cover of the record,
wow.
and then
Holy
this is
shit.
the sleeve Jeff made. So I've been listening to that like crazy, just because I've been like super excited to have that again. And then aside from that, just really King Gizzard. I mean, I listen to like really great stuff every day. I'm fortunate enough to work at an awesome record store, and we just like blast music. But in terms of just like what I'm listening to like heavy right now, it's definitely King Gizzard, and then I'm definitely putting this Knapsack record amongst their other records in regular rotation, but this one for sure, because this one definitely like changed my life. I listen to ISIS regularly. I don't know if you ever listened to
Ooh,
them.
yeah.
Yeah,
Wow. Okay.
so I listen to them pretty regularly. I've been listening to like Wavering Radiant a
Nice. Yeah.
ton. This is their last record, which doesn't get as much love from like their purist fans, but like this record's fucking incredible. Obviously you have Panopticon, and obviously they're like a lot of their earlier stuff. But I don't know, Wavering Radiant for me, Oceanic, Panopticon, Wavering Radiant. I do like the newer versions of them. The newer stuff they put out, but I mean all of ISIS is like amazing. But that's definitely another band that's in pretty regular rotation. Um, I mean, dude, I can really talk about this stuff forever. So, you know, I don't know if we want to go down this road. Oh, and then I listen to this pretty regularly too. Are you familiar with Palms?
Ooh, no, I'm not, but I love the
So
artwork. It looks great.
this is Tino from the Deftones singing with members of ISIS, except for Aaron Harris.
Wow.
It's very what's the word I'm looking for? It's very I don't know, like post rock kind of. It's
Oh,
got this weird. Oh, sorry, I said Aaron Harris. I meant Aaron Turner, the singer of ISIS. It's Chino with the other members
of
besides
ISIS.
Aaron
Yeah.
Turner. But yeah, it's like very like I don't know. It's weird. It's like the mellow parts of ISIS. It's very like
Ah,
post
post
metal,
rock. Yeah,
post
post
rock,
rocky kind of. Yeah.
ethereal. And then Chino obviously is just the fucking G.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's something I've definitely been listening to like crazy as well.
What a combo! You got some good picks in there. When we close it out, I'm gonna have to show you some of the what I got. That's cool. I like
You
that too.
also can't fuck with this record. This is probably one of the greatest modern rap records in the
Hmm.
last, like, I would say, like 20 years. And
Interesting.
I'll fight anyone who disagrees. Uh, but yeah, I don't know.
I
Sorry,
love
I didn't
that.
need to turn it into a vinyl
No,
podcast.
no, 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 no. Listen, they can deal with it because I literally have a video sitting in my computer right now of the vinyls that I picked up recently. So I try to post a video, every couple months of the things that I get, just because I love to share my love of vinyl collecting. So
Totally.
so yeah, so I that video will be coming out probably before this interview comes out. But yeah,
Nice.
I try to post what I can. Eventually I will make like a full like album like collection video. I would say a little over 250 right now, I think. We're pretty close
Nice,
to it.
dude.
So
Hell
I've
yeah, good for you.
been doing it for a little bit. That's really
That's
what all of
awesome.
my extra money goes into is buying records. So
It is really not the cheapest hobby at all.
no,
You know,
well, I mean,
it's
I feel like I have
it's
to
crazy.
I feel like I have to aptly continue on with my channel name Audio Addiction. So like if I'm not buying
Totally.
records, then I shouldn't be doing this channel. So it comes down to. But the next question I have for you, Doug, is I gotta give you a shout outs because so you guys did this really interesting cover of Staying Alive for this movie Crank, and my buddy Jared sent it to me, so I have to give him another shout out. And I was like, "What the fuck is this? Like, why did they choose to do this cover over anything else?" Which I mean, I love. Who doesn't love the Bee Gees, right?
Yeah.
But I was like, "Wow, I have to ask him about how they came up with doing this song as a cover song." First and foremost, and how it again ended up on a movie. That is just crazy to me.
Yeah. So it was initially I can't remember who made, I can't remember who, what production studio was
Okay.
Crank was a part
Working
of. I,
with,
I don't
yeah.
know if it was like, I'm trying to remember who it was. I want to say like Dreamhouse or something like that. I
Okay.
mean, I don't think it is that, but basically, you know, they approached us saying, we'd like the Sleeping to cover Staying Alive from the Bee Gees, for the Crank movie soundtrack. I don't remember if we got the choice or not, but someone approached us to record for the soundtrack, and either we chose it or it was chosen for us. I'm pretty sure it was chosen for us because it was like, Staying Alive. It's clearly like relatable to Crank. The whole movie's
Yeah.
about the guy like not fucking dying from like his heart exploding or whatever. So, but yeah, we were asked to do it, and we had 2 days to record it, but one day to learn it, and we only had 2 days because we were on tour, I think. So we actually learned that song the first day, and then recorded the song the second. And I knew Staying Alive, but I didn't know the lyrics. I never knew any of the lyrics besides, you can tell by the way I walk, like, well, you can tell by the way I walk. Like, that was all I ever knew. Like, after Use My Walk, I
That's
don't
it.
think I ever knew anything else. And to learn the lyrics was actually pretty cool. But yeah, no, that was a really cool time in our life. Like, we were like, so much stuff was happening. It was around the same time where we were about to play Warp Tour in Buffalo, and we were like headlining, and I say headlining because at that point the stages, every band would rotate. So it was
Yes.
it
It's
was the
swap.
time, yeah. So it was the time we were like headlining the stage we were on, and thank God it worked out that way because we got a call like 2 nights before we were playing Buffalo, and I think Buffalo was maybe the start of our when we jumped on. So, or maybe the second night, but we got a call this like the night or two before we started Warp Tour, and Hawthorne Heights was supposed to be on this Cartoon Network show, and they had to cancel for whatever reasons. So Victory called us and was like, "Hey, there's this like Cartoon Network show where you're basically." They didn't tell us this part yet, but I'll explain to you just to give you the context now. But it's basically like a Saturday Night Live for kids. I don't even remember what the name of the show was, but we didn't know this. So they're like, "Oh yeah, you're playing this Cartoon Network show. Do you guys want to do it?" And we're like, and it was basically the morning of the day we started Warp Tour. So we're like,
Oh,
they're like, "You'll get there, you'll do it at like 6 a.m. or whatever, or you'll fly at 6 a.m. You'll get there at like it's Cartoon Network's in Atlanta. You'll get there at like whatever. We got there at like 9 or 10, did it at like 11 or something like that, and then flew back. So they're like, yeah, they're like, do you want to do it? We're like, yeah, sure, fuck it, why not? So we do it. Long story short, which leads into the Staying Alive thing. But long story short, we land after we do this show. This kid like must be like 8 years old. He's like, ladies and gentlemen, the sleeping. Like, it was so weird, but it was like a fun experience, because we were just like a lot of cool things were happening at that time.
sure,
So
sure.
so we land. The dude that picks us up in his Escalade, it's like a driver that picks us up in the Escalade. We're like, yo, we're only like 25 minutes before they don't let us play because we're like already so late, and they're like trying to hold the stage for us, which was really cool of, Kevin Lyman and Warped Tour.
Sure. Yeah.
But they were holding the stage, and they're like, yo, if you don't make it here by such and such time, that is the latest we can hold it. Like, we have to end your set. And our tech had already set up all of our gear. So we tell this driver, and the driver's like, cool, got you. We're doing like 120 on the shoulder. And like I'm like freaking out. I'm like, dude, this is fucking insane. So long story short, we walk up on stage with like 30 seconds before it goes over like 8:15 or whatever. And we make it and we play. And I just remember being like, holy shit, I just had the craziest day.
Yeah.
I think it was only a couple days after that, maybe the next weekend is when we got asked to do the Staying Alive. And I just remember being like, what the fuck is my life right now? Like,
Yeah,
this
for real.
is insane, and I just remember us, you know, getting back into the studio and doing the Staying Alive stuff. And I don't know, it was just really cool. It was a really cool time in our lives where I was like, fuck man, we're going like every which way. And like, I wouldn't have it any other way. So it was cool. Sorry, I didn't mean to like long wind, but it just
No,
reminded me of all of that stuff.
that's insane. Like, yeah, that's
Yeah, It was
What?
crazy, dude. It was crazy.
I have to find out what Cartoon Network show that is now because I'm
You can
curious.
type in the Sleeping Cartoon Network and it comes up.
Wow. Okay.
I don't want to tell anyone that,
You
but here it is. You know?
you could have pleaded the fifth. I would have been completely
Yeah,
fine with
yeah.
that, but I think in my head like, wow, what an insane like way to go about things. Like it just shows how vastly different the music industry is now because you wouldn't even I don't even think that would be something that would be even considered being done to bands right now.
Yeah, exactly. It's so weird, dude. I mean, times are different in so many ways, and I think about just the way that whole operation was, and I was like, man, I'm grateful we were around in that time. I really am because I think we were one of the last to really live for the moments of those things
Sure,
and not
yeah.
make everything feel so like I don't know, like oversaturated or being done every second. It just felt good to always be a part of things that felt like, I guess like unknown territory.
Yeah, it's for
It
real.
was very fun, very fun time in life.
There we go. Well, the next question I have for you, Doug, if you could pick anybody to collaborate with that, would work with the sleeping, who would you love to work with in terms of either maybe like a guest feature or like, or any sort of musical feature going on?
Damn, I've never actually thought of this question. That's
Well,
so
now
crazy.
it's
It's a
time.
good question. Yeah, I've never really thought of it. Like we've always gotten asked like little fun, like, oh, what's your dream concert and things like that. But like I've never really thought of like who I would want to collaborate with. I mean, I would love to sing over Trent Reznor beats. I would love to
Ooh.
sing over Trent Reznor's produced music. Like that would be like a dream, I think. I would love I would love to like I would love to be in a band where John Theodore played drums. Like I think that's really cool. Um, I would love to do something with Cedric from At the Drive-In, Mars
Ooh.
Volta. I think that
Wow.
would be really cool. Some vocal type weird shit, even if it was just us two with no music. Like I don't know. I think that would be really cool. Um, I mean, Deftones always. I'll always be a fan of doing something with Chino or any of those dudes. Even Frank. Like I would do something with some soundscape stuff with Frank would be really cool. Um, what else would I like flip out over? I mean, yeah, I would love to be in a band. I would love to do some type of song with These Arms Are Snakes.
Ooh.
I think
Yeah.
Ryan Fredrickson is like one of the greatest guitar players ever. And then on top of that, I would love to come up on stage for like three hot water music songs that I can like name in my head right now that I would be like I would love to go up on stage and sing those. I think Chris Wallard from Hot Water Music, I think he is the most like prolific songwriter and lyricist of like this genre realm of music, whatever you want to call it. Like I don't know. There's something very special about that dude that I don't think ever really got recognized, and not in a way that they're underrated because they're a great band that does extremely well.
Sure.
But I think that dude has something that's like a really fucked up gift that like people don't see it as that. Where I listen to it and I'm like, this dude was on some other shit that like no one could touch. So I would love to be a part of like his world in some way, even collaborating with him just as like interviewing him and asking him questions. Um, and then I think the last thing I would say, um, I mean, I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall in like a Nirvana show,
Oh, yeah.
like
Ooh.
Nirvana Live and Loud MTV. I wish I was like a crew member. You know what I mean? Like, I would love to just see what that was like and see what shows like that were like then. And I think that would be something very special too. Um, yeah, those are probably some of my like diehard answers.
You had some
Oh,
good
and
ones in
Sade.
there.
I would love to do something with Sade or Fiona Apple.
Ooh.
Yeah,
All right.
those would be huge
You
too.
have the widest of ranges, so I love that. I feel like that
Thanks.
I feel like you got some good ones in there. I mean, I would love to list them all out, but guys, if you want to see the sleeping collaborate with any of those artists, make sure to tag them. That would be really sick. I don't know of the possibility of that happening, but hey, listen, if it's on the internet, and we're manifesting it, hey, it could happen. You never know.
Exactly. You never know.
I just gotta put the faith in it, so we got it. But the next question I have for you, Doug, you did mention before you're a nerd, so I feel I'm in good company to ask this question to you. If you could be a video game character, who would you be?
I mean, I am a video game character. You know what I'm saying? My
You
my,
are, yeah.
my Diablo 4 build is like pretty sick right now. I mean, I don't really have a specific character because
Okay,
most of the games I really love, they're not necessarily like, I guess you can say like character based, like story driven in that
sure.
way. But I would love to be a character in Elden Ring. I think
Oh,
that would be, I mean,
it would suck.
Skyrim. I would say Skyrim might be my favorite game of all time, but Elden Ring, in terms of just like, I don't know, that I think that was like a more, I mean, obviously completely different studios, but like Elden Ring is probably one of the greatest games ever made. And to be fair, like I still think Skyrim is better, but something about Elden Ring, like if I could see Elden Ring in the way that you see it on TV, in the
Oh,
real, in the realm of Elden Ring, like I think I would, that would be like where I would want to be. You know what I mean? Or, we can always say Snake from Metal Gear
oh,
Solid. You know what I mean?
great
What about
choice.
you?
Ah, okay. Well, keeping with the same answer that I always give, I have to pick. I'm a huge Pokemon fan, so I have to pick the trainer for Generation 2. Brendan, ironically enough, is his name. So I feel like,
That's
Brandon,
cool.
Brendan,
That's
close
cool.
enough. So I would say that one.
You want to know something crazy?
What's crazy, Doug?
I've never seen or know anything about Pokemon, and I like know it's like huge, in especially in gaming and
Yeah,
cards.
yeah.
I have no clue what anyone or who anyone is in that, except I think Pokemon, right? Like
Yeah.
Pokemon's a
Yes.
character, or is that like a type of like people,
I
or like
mean,
a
this is like
species?
this is a Pokemon, you know.
Okay, okay. So it wasn't the name of the little cute one. Oh, Pikachu, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
so
So Pikachu, I do know.
yes, so this is just a Funko Pop, but yes, this is Pikachu.
That's Pikachu, right? Okay,
Yes.
okay, okay. So I'm not.
I got you. I got you,
I'm
Doug.
not
I'm not gonna let the people come after you in the comments. I got you. Um but yeah, I feel like that's I don't know. I grew up playing those games, so those to me are always something special, especially Nintendo games. I'm
Yeah.
a huge Nintendo fan. But yeah, I feel you on that one. If I had to pick something a little bit more difficult, I've been playing a lot of Tears of the Kingdom, the
Oh,
newest
shit.
Zelda game, and it's
Yeah,
been
yeah.
chef's kiss. It's awesome.
Dude,
So good.
I loved Breath of the Wild. I thought it was fucking amazing. But like, I, it's so hard for me to get the new Zelda because Elden Ring and now Diablo. Like I always have this like anti Nintendo cartoony thing to me.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
like as amazing as I thought Breath of the Wild was, once I was done with it, I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna like play Skyrim again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just like I like I'm someone like, I mean, obviously Elden Ring has like an insane soundtrack,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
like Skyrim, I turn the music off. Like I only want to hear the darkness of the cave. I'm like psycho like that, and I
That's
did
sick
that for a
though.
while in Elden Ring. In my group text with like a bunch of my friends, everyone's like, "Why the fuck you doing that? Like this shit's so good." I'm like, "All right, I think I have to like turn the music back on for Elden Ring." But like that's the type of gaming I like. I like to be like immersed
I
in the
was gonna say
sense of
it's
like,
immersive. Yeah.
yeah, like I'm like a psycho like that, and I get like really into that, like that sort of mentality when I play. Like I want the lights off. I
Oh
like
wow.
I like
Okay.
darker games, but not ones that are like overtly like, like, oh, look at how like gory and dark it
Not
can
like
be.
a
Like
Dead
I like,
Space. I got
yeah,
you.
like I like games that, like I thought Dead Space was really good.
Sure. Yeah.
I think that game's amazing. Um, what's that PS5 game? I can't remember for the life of me right now, but it was amazing. Where like she keeps reliving every time she dies. Your character is this awesome woman, and she's like an astronaut, and she like lands in this fucked up place, and every time she dies, she wakes back up in the ship as if she's getting out of the ship for the first time since the
Hmm.
crash. It was like the first. It's like one of the first PS5 made games.
I'm gonna look
Um,
it up. I think it might be. I don't want to guess because I have no idea what it is
it
yet.
was really good. It was really good.
I'm taking a look.
I'm trying to.
Is it Deathloop?
No, it's not Deathloop.
Okay.
That game was okay.
Okay.
Um,
I'm looking. I'm trying to see what I can find
I'm
here.
trying to remember what it was called before. I think it was one word.
Okay. I'm trying to see if it can. Oh, let's see. This is not helping me out. I'm looking it up.
I want to
I'm
like
actually
guess.
gonna find it out. Oh
You
man.
have to. You have to
I
find
have
out
to.
now.
Is it Returnal?
Yes,
Okay. Whew.
dude.
Thanks,
Okay,
Google.
so that game is really cool, and it's kind of original. Like I've never seen a game like it. But basically, every time you die, you start again. You like wake up in the ship, and you're like, "Where the fuck am I?" And then you like get out and you do it again. But every time you get out of the ship, the scenery changes. Like the what's the word I'm looking for? Not scenery. The terrain and everything changes. So like you'll like so like the castle, like just say it's not a castle, but
Sure. Yeah.
like ruins, right? So like you first go in and there's like ruins to your right, and then there's like a well you go down. Well, now this time you go in and like the well isn't there. The ruins are like to the left, and then like you have to wrap around, and then you see the well like 2 hours later in another
Wow.
place. Then the next time you die, there's no well at all. Like it's just always changing. It was a sick game. It's really sick.
That would that would fuck me up like
Dude, it's
mentally.
awesome. It was a really good game.
That sounds
Um,
like a great one.
yeah. So then I got to add one more
Okay,
because
respect. I'll give you the
I
other
would
one.
be doing myself a disservice in the gaming community. But I think if I could be one character, it would be Ninja Gaiden. Yeah.
Bro,
Like one of the
so good.
greatest games of all time. So like I just couldn't leave that. I couldn't leave that one.
I
I
will
felt like terrible.
suggest, I don't know if you happen to have like a computer or possibly, I don't know if it's on Steam or anything, but there's this game called The Messenger, which is the spiritual
Yeah,
successor.
basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
I,
so
I
good.
played it. It's like a newer version of
Yes,
Ninja Gaiden. Yeah, that game's sick.
I love that
Yeah, I
game.
played that. Scott Pilgrim for Switch was really good too.
Yes,
Yeah,
I love Scott Pilgrim. Yeah, the movie
yeah.
was great. I love the game, of course, but yeah, I gotta give
The
a
movie's
salute.
so good, dude.
I gotta give a salutes to the Messenger. That's such a sick game. So if you haven't picked that up, go
Yeah,
do it. It's awesome.
yeah. The Messenger was good.
The next question I have for you, Doug, is aptly, what is your favorite favorite movie currently right now?
Oh shit, that's hard because I am like very into movies and television.
Ooh, okay.
Um,
Good question to ask then.
I think The Good Guys is completely
Mm,
underrated and one of the funniest and coolest films ever. And there's not really much to it, but with Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling, that movie's fucking awesome. Um, the Batman, I think, is incredible.
the new one?
Yeah, I think it's fucking
Ooh, okay.
awesome. That would definitely be another one. The Bear, I cannot, I've watched
Ooh.
it like 6 times over again. Uh, I love The West Wing. I've been watching
Oh,
that
nice.
like
Yeah.
crazy. Um, The Office, of course. Um, Dave on Hulu is really good.
Yes.
And then, honestly, my favorite, trying to think of more movies. The Revenant.
Yes.
I think I love The Revenant. Um, what else? I think The Good Guys would probably be like a pretty stand up one right now. Like nothing can really knock that one down.
Okay.
Oh, I love the Evil Dead remakes.
Ooh, okay.
They're like insanely sick and gory and fucked up, but like so well done. They're like black metal movies in a way. They're like insane. Um, I'm trying to think of what else. I know there's like another one.
You could just email me if you forget. You
Yeah,
come up
dude.
with,
I could
we'll
go
just have like
forever.
a laundry list. These are
I
Doug's
know,
picks for
dude.
the movies.
Seriously.
That'd be sick. I can't.
What about you?
I am so afraid of horror movies. I will not watch them.
Really?
Yeah. I am a big baby. I feel, which is funny because I listen to a lot of metal music and people are like, "Oh, you must love horror," and I'm like, "No, I am a softie.
Yeah.
I will fully come out as a softie. I don't. I just can't do it. I would like to sleep with my eyes. I would not like to sleep with my eyes open. So,
Yeah.
so yeah. So movie. That's kind of a toss up. I'm a huge Studio Ghibli fan. Howl's Moving Castle is a great like animated movie that I love watching. Every time I watch it, I cry. So I feel like it gets the good emotions out. Just any Ghibli movie, they're all fantastic.
Yeah.
I would highly recommend watching those. If I had to pick non-animated, um, I love the like Rush Hour movies. I think they're absolutely
Good.
hilarious. They're just so dumb, and whenever I have a bad day, I'm just throwing on Rush Hour.
Yeah.
So I feel like those types of movies I really jive with. In terms of TV shows, I don't really watch a lot of TV just because, quite frankly, this takes up my free time. So I don't
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
watch TV. But if I do, I love like Brooklyn Nine Nine, like
I was
anything
gonna
like
say
dry,
Brooklyn Nine-Nine
yeah,
too.
like the dry humor, The Office. I love The Office,
Yeah.
like Community, those types of shows I enjoy watching a lot. So I
I
would
never
say
got
that
into Community. I tried. I
Community
tried to
is
get into
interesting.
Community. I never really could like grasp it. Brooklyn Nine-Nine though is like
Oh, it's
such
great.
a good one,
Yeah, it's
dude.
such an
Such a
underrated
good one.
show. I love that show. So shout outs. I love
Yeah.
to. I don't. And obviously, they're done, but yeah,
What
I
do you
love that
like
series.
about Community? Like, what did it for you that you were like, oh, I get this?
I think it's just like the odd humor. I think it's just
Yeah,
like that. It's so like it just like you have to be like a part. You have to like be in part of the show. It's like very similar to my like experience watching like Schitt's Creek, where like that first
great show too.
season, I was like, I don't know if I get it, but I'm gonna push through it in order to watch it. And I
Yeah,
pushed through it, and I was just like, by the end of the show, I was also crying at the end of that show because it's so
totally, dude.
the ending just crushes you.
What a great show. What a
What a
great
great
show.
show. So I would say for Community, it was really about like just really being like in the moment watching the show, like because it's like some of the stuff's like so stupid, like you're just like it's a show about a community college. Maybe it's also because I did go to community college and I kind of was like, oh, okay, this is like
That's
some
cool.
dumb
Yeah,
shit that I saw at community college. Yeah, I get it now. It makes sense. So maybe it might have been that, but also I just think like some of the stuff was just like completely out there, and like Brooklyn Nine-Nine didn't exist at the time, so I was just like,
yeah,
this is
yeah.
great. And now I just love Community. It's just, and the cast is hilarious. Like I think all of them are all funny in
Yeah,
their
it's
own
a
right.
great
Yeah.
cast. It's an awesome cast, which is why I was like, I wanted to like it too. I should try it again. I mean, I'll never not try something
Sure.
more than
Yeah.
once. I'll always try something more than once, but I should definitely try that again. Because I do like the cast. If for some reason I just couldn't do it. I like couldn't get it. But I definitely want to try again. You know what else is good too? You ever watch Party Down?
Oh yes. Oh, that's great.
So
I
good.
love that.
That show's so good.
That's a good one. I
I
haven't
love
heard that in a
something like
while.
that too. Like so. What you're saying is basically like same thing. Like very similar humor. I think Party Down. I love the state. That used to be like one of my favorite shows.
Yes. Oh,
So yeah,
you
that's
got some
great.
good ones. That I haven't heard Party Down in quite a bit, so that's a good one. I like that one. That's the one I'm gonna remember because I haven't. It's an unlocked memory now.
Dude,
Um,
that show's awesome.
Next question, Doug. If you were trapped on a desert island for the next month and there was one record you could bring with you to listen to, what album would that be? I know that's a tough one. It is a month though. I feel like it's a little less of a blow.
I think it's hard because it's like, what am I trying to get out of the trip? Am I trying to survive, or am I like, am I already?
Everybody keeps reading into it like as if it's like this like existential crisis that
Yeah,
you
like,
were.
am I already surviving? Like, is the hammock made? And like, do I
I'm
have
just
like
gonna
all my
say it's
coconuts
like
laid out?
I might have to rephrase this question going further now because I keep getting like people that ask me this, and I appreciate it because like who doesn't want to balk at that question a little bit? But I'm just gonna keep it at you're just chilling on an island. You're
Okay.
not in danger. You're not gonna die. Nothing.
If I'm chilling and I'm not in danger, then right now, King Gizzard. You know what I mean? I'd
Ooh,
be listening
okay.
to the Giz because honestly, it's like that record. I listen to it in like any mood, and I'm like, this fucking record is so good. So that would probably be the one I would take with me right now. you know. But if it was like in these situations where I'm like, fuck, like I gotta like figure life out, I think I would be too stressed listening to like something more like kind of like thicker like that. I would probably take like a Fiona Apple or something like
Ooh,
that.
okay.
So, something that makes me feel calm, even though she's the heaviest woman ever lyrically.
Yes.
Um,
Oh,
the music makes me feel like very subtle and like weightless. So I'd probably take that with me, or I would take Sade's Soldier of Love. That's
ooh,
something that I could be pretty mellow with. So,
yeah. I like that. I
but
like that.
I'm glad people look into that question because it is a hard
It
question.
is a hard question. Yeah.
It-
I objectively know it's a hard question. Um,
yeah.
Next question I have for you, Doug, which is the last one. Obviously, I don't want to keep it
Yeah.
any longer, but I feel like you probably already picked this out in terms of the interviews. But I love interviewing. I've been doing this for seven and a
Yeah,
half
dude.
years of my
Real
life.
awesome.
So,
Good too.
oh, thank you so much.
For real.
But I wanted to know, I love the sleeping, of course, but I want to know, what makes you passionate about music? Because I think that's what really kind of latches me onto bands more so than anything else is like the why people do it. Because you did take a break from doing the sleeping, you had done other musical projects, night verses, and obviously don't want to pigeonhole you into just doing the sleeping going further, but what makes you kind of come back and create music and allow yourself to be vulnerable, amongst the fan base. I think it's a great thing.
It's weird because I don't think of it objectively, I guess. Um, so I don't really know
Hmm.
like what makes me keep writing and like creating, but what what the core of music is to me is like my whole existence. You know what I mean? But not even just I could probably never write another record again and I would still feel the same passion and joy I do when listening to my records in my headphones. Um, I don't really, I don't really know exactly what it is, and I always want to say like I have this crazy answer. And obviously, music is who I am. I
Sure.
think
Yeah.
that would be the most like forward-facing answer is like I create because it's who I am, and it's like all I want to be in my life and know what I am. But like I sometimes have moments where I just sit in this room in the dark and listen to like my records in headphones. And I'm like, I could do this for the rest of my life, like with nothing else, no like agenda for music. And that to me is like, I guess what the purest essence of it is for me is that like, it's like my home. You know what I mean? I would say music is like 100% my house.
Yeah.
It is my sanctuary. And whether it's creating, I mean, sometimes creating pulls me out of that because it's more of this agenda and like, okay, like there's a mission to like complete a song or this and that. But like the essence of music is like, it's just where I go to be me.
Sure.
So I would probably say that like I think what keeps me just always being so passionate about anything too is just like, I am a very passionate person and I am very passionate about the things I love. And music is probably the most, aside from my family, I think music is definitely the one thing I can like never lose in
Sure.
any sense. And that's even, I freak out when like the cartridge breaks on my record player and I have to get a new one.
Yeah.
Like
Same.
when the needle like breaks or winds down, like I like have to get one the next day because like I like can't be without knowing that if I want to listen to music, it's like not there. So I would just say that it's like my house. That's what keeps me always being in love with it. And the passion of who I am as a person is what keeps the music being like created on in my world. But in terms of just being a fan of music, it's just where I go to be.
Yeah. No, it feels like I can relate a lot to that. Like it's like my soul, like I
Yeah.
kind of, I kind of feel a lot of, I feel like I feel that inclination to what you have to say, right? Like that was ultimately got me started into interviewing bands because I feel like, as you made a comment before about leaving a mark, right? Like that to me, music has made a mark on me, and I want to be able to share my love of music or like the people that I have on because I love talking to them. I love being able to kind of figure out why people care about music. Why is it so much an investment point? Why do I spend hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars on records, and listen to them?
Totally.
So like for
Totally.
me, it's like kind of like looking into the mirror and saying like why do I care about this? And then also in the same way is like the people that I have on, it's like, well, why do they do it? Why is it important to them? Why do they create it? Why do they spend this money, the time, like all this effort doing it?
Yeah.
For like people to be like, I don't know, I don't know if I really like this. Like, I don't know if this album's good or not. Or and then other people to be like, this album changed my life. Like, that's insane. So
Totally.
I love your answer because I think it's like it's so true to you and just being able to talk to you for like a couple hours. I think I could already gather that immediately. Um, and so it was just a cool, again, full circle moment for me. So I appreciate
Oh,
the
yeah. Thanks,
time,
dude.
Doug. And I have to end it off with arguably the most important thing we'll talk about tonight, which is your band, The Sleeping. Tell them where they can find you at on social media, what you guys have coming up in the next couple months, and
Yeah.
anything else you would like to share with the fam.
Sick. Yeah. The Sleeping's back. We have a new record called I Feel Like I'm Becoming a Ghost. It'll be out August 18th. Please follow us on Instagram at The Sleeping Official. We're just trying to build our social media since we were a band that pretty much predated mainstream social media. Just trying to grow and get back to our fan base and create that awareness and reach out to new people because we're really excited about this new record, and I think people are going to really enjoy it. And I have a lot of other stuff coming up as well. Sal and I have another band that I'm very excited to announce soon, and I think people are going to trip out on it. And then, obviously just support your local record stores and listen to dope music. Check out Vinyl Addiction in North Arlington, New Jersey, which is the shop I work at. And if you train in jujitsu, check out Unity Jiu-Jitsu in Jersey City. It's where I train as well. Shout out to them, my other family. So yeah, that's pretty much what's going on with my life. And definitely check out The Sleeping because there's so much more. And we got shows coming up as well. I don't know when this will air, but
The
playing Bowery
14th,
Ballroom.
the 14th of August.
Okay, cool, sick. So it'll be right before the show at Bowery Ballroom, and we're playing in Harrisburg as well. And you can just check out The Sleeping Official and check out all the dates. So Instagram.com/The Sleeping Official.
There we go. Well, I gotta give a shout out and major love to Alexa for getting me
Hell yes.
one
Thank you,
of
Alexa.
one of the goats, of post hardcore. I can say that now that I've talked with Doug. So please, if you have been living under a rock, which I would argue a lot of people have been living under a rock now at this point, please go check out The Sleeping. Listen, they're back. You heard it. You heard it directly from Doug. They're back. So please check the links in the description. Go if they're coming to your city. Like, just go see them because I saw that live video online, and I know that I personally will have to experience this for myself. So I'm going to be going to the Harrisburg date. So if you're there, come say hi to me. I would love to see you, meet you, hang out, all that sort of stuff. As well as that, if you'd like to pick up the vinyl, I imagine there'll also be links for that as well. So please go do it. As well as that, if you enjoyed this interview, share, like, and subscribe. It goes a long way. I'm halfway to my goal of 5,000 subscribers. So if you could help me get a little bit further down the line, that'd be amazing. And also join me on the 18th for the live review of the new album, I Feel Like I'm Becoming a Ghost. Very excited to listen to that. And of course, massive thank you to Doug for coming on and spending the time.
Thanks for having me, dude. Seriously, thank you. That was fun. Really cool that we did meet our Kickstarter goal in 9 days or whatever. I think it was 9 days, and like it's really sick, but honestly, like, if I'm being real, which I'm, this is who I am now,
Sure,
like,
yeah.
I've always been, but like it's just not, people aren't aware still, you know what I mean? And we're not playing shows enough yet. Like we have some coming up and on the East Coast, but we're still kind of getting our footing, and essentially we're starting from the ground up again. Like, yeah, we're a band, but we're always in a weird place because we never really followed any trend. Like, yeah, we were lumped in with like certain sounds or scenes, and we love being a part of those scenes and embracing them. But like, we definitely always tried to do our own thing and like stand out. And it sucks that we live in this world where like, you know, the safe bet is to, you know, attach yourself to these things that are
Sure, yeah.
popular, comfortable, and like, you know, we're not like that. We never were. And again, these things I think are to our detriment, but like, we don't really care at the same time of like following, you know, I guess, you know, it's not that we like to go against the grain. We're just naturally people that aren't like that. And it's like,
You
you
write
know,
what you like, yeah.
yeah, and also you do what you like, and I feel like, you know, I feel like sometimes there are these moments where I look at all these acts and, you know, like major bands, like local, whatever. I look at acts and I'm like, you know, it's really dope. They're all doing what they do and like, you know,
Sure.
really holding on to these like scenes. And obviously it's such an important thing, but you know, there are also some I see and it just feels like performative. And like, I don't ever, you know, I don't ever want to be like that. And I think also when you're not a band for years and like you lose that part of yourself, you lose like confidence. You don't want to bother
Sure, sure.
anyone. I mean, there's so many layers to why people are the way they are in every aspect of life. And it's like music, like you're a human being first and foremost, no matter like if you're a celebrity or, you know, music, movies, whatever. And it's like, you know, when I stopped being in bands, you know, in the point where I was like, all right, I don't want to tour anymore. I want to like figure my life out a little bit. You know, I'll always be a musician, but like, what else am I good at? You know, like you lose a piece of yourself and you lose this like self confidence where like you're like, I don't want to bother my friends that are on the road all the time,
Sure,
and
yeah.
you know they don't have time for me. But then you know that is something I deal with in you know like that whatever that's something I deal with in therapy and things like that. Like always feeling like I'm a nuisance to like my friends. You know, that's like a something I work through. And I think a lot of the years I never wanted to bother people. I just probably naturally lost touch with those people and they just forget, you
Sure,
know, or
yeah.
whatever, you know, it's like, so, I mean, there's so many factors to circling back to all that, there's so many factors to why people just don't know your band. You don't put yourself out there, or you know, we're still, you know, we predated social media in our like
Yeah, I
prime.
was
So
gonna
now,
say,
you
yeah.
know, except for like on MySpace, but you know, after we, you know, we never did the Facebook
You
thing
never
like crazy.
converted, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So now we have to convert in a world where everybody's already like, you know, it's like it's you know, we're like the tiniest fucking speck of dust in like a universe right now. And, you know, I think that stuff is interesting. And, you know, it's also a challenge in a good way. Like I would like our band to elevate again with knowing that we didn't do it by like social norms, you know,
Sure,
like I'd like
yeah.
just the music to speak for itself. And if it doesn't, I still made something I'm proud of. We still made something we're proud of. So we'll see what happens. But you know, I always think it's very interesting the way you know outreach works now. You know, I work in marketing in
Oh,
general,
nice.
like
Okay, yeah.
so, like I see it, but you know, it's not an easy thing when it's like from the ground up. You know, everything is oversaturated in this world now, so it's like you know,
Oh, I know. As someone who's been doing this for 7 years, like, I see it myself, emails, people you talk with, like, it is a I wanna say it's kind of a landmine, like, where you're trying to figure out, like, "Is this person going to do this? Are you gonna figure this out? Am I gonna disrupt someone else because, like, I said something online about their band or their band said something about me online?" Like,
yeah,
it's crazy.
yeah, totally. And it's like you know, it, you want to be yourself and you want to say your honest opinions and be honest, but you know, you're in a world where you know, if you do that in some way, someone can take, you know,
Take it
it's
out of
all,
context, yeah.
yeah, it's all crazy. But, you know, I think the best part of life is just living for yourself. And, you know, I have opinions about everything in the world, but I just keep everything to myself in general because you know, I just like to, you know, I let everyone else formulate how they feel and whatever, you know.